as a matter of fact, the direct quote, Greenberg, BMitch said, man, I like Greenberg. I wish all the other analytics guys would run into a concrete wall. How do you do, Neil? What's going on?
I'm doing great now after that. Little pick-me-up for the morning. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked about it all year, but now that it's actually here, it's still pretty remarkable. Commanders are the 6th seed in the wild card. Like, just from an overall perspective of the accomplishment this season, it's fairly significant.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge step forward. What a lot of people thought to be 2-3 year rebuild became a one off season rebuild, and a 12-win season is huge.
Yes.
If you would have told me actually that Washington would win 12 games, I would have thought they would have won the division, but Philadelphia overcame a slow start and was able to do that. But still, to be talking, meaningful second season NFL for the local team in year one is just a remarkable feat. And I think that, everybody in that organization deserves a lot of credit.
Greenberg, have any analytics been done about a team that comes out in the first year and does as great as Washington did? What happens the next year?
Yeah, I actually tweeted this. Let me find it. So there's been let's see, since 2002, 9 teams have won 10 or more games with a rookie quarterback. The following year, 7 won 9 or more games, 4 won 10 or more again. 5 made the playoffs the following year, so 5 out of 9. 2 won the Super Bowl, 1 played in a Super Bowl, and only 2013 Washington won fewer than 8 games the following year. So I wouldn't expect a drop-off. I would expect this team to remain competitive. I mean, the front office, I believe, deserves the benefit of the doubt in terms of getting the right people in the building. And the coaching staff deserves the benefit of the doubt of doing what they need to do to make those players successful. So I think that we're in the competitive window right now. I will say Washington should absolutely make the most of having a guy like Jayden Daniels on an entry-level contract, cost controlled over the next couple of years, because that really is a cheat code to win in the NFL.
You've seen a lot of football, and so the question is, when you look at them right now, do they have all the right people in the right places, which I believe they do, to be successful over the long haul?
Well, long haul is tough, but I would say over the next couple of years, I mean, they certainly could maximize the window of Jayden Daniels' first contract, right? Like that, he is being paid below market value for his performance. So what that allows you to do is spend elsewhere. You don't have to spend $50 million a year on a quarterback to get the production that he's providing you. So I think the window is open. Who knows what the roster is going to look like next year, who's going to be available, et cetera. But yeah, I believe that this is a well-run organization, and I think the coaching staff surprised a lot of people. I think Jayden surprised a lot of people. Many thought he'd be good. I don't think many thought he would be this good. So we just have to see what happens. I don't think we're done talking about Washington. I think Washington and the Green Bay Packers are the 2 underdogs that can win their games outright this week. I think, Washington, last time they played Tampa Bay, was the first game. I would toss that out completely. I think the defense is much, much better than it was in that game against Tampa Bay. Those are my 2 picks, I think, underdogs in terms of the betting markets that can win outright.
Wow. All right. I like that. Let's dig in a little deeper why you think Washington can beat the Bucs. We're talking with our friend Neil Greenberg here. Greenberg does fantasy analytics, everything for the Washington Post, and has been all over Washington all year. He had him winning over 11 games, won a bunch of money because of it.
Sending us lunch tomorrow.
Yeah. Can't wait for that lunch. You can follow him at N Greenberg. You like Washington. It's not that big of a number. It's only 3. What makes you like them so much this week?
Well, I just think that their offense is key in football, especially in the playoffs. I think Tampa Bay is going to have trouble with Jayden Daniels. They've had some trouble with mobile quarterbacks this season. I think that it just adds another layer in terms of confusing the defense. I don't think Tampa Bay's defense is that great. I think it's a little bit better than Washington's, but I think that these are two evenly matched teams for the most part. But I do think that having Jayden Daniels is the difference. And you look around the league and you look at how these defenses are so good, and we're talking about like a second, right? Like if you can confuse the defense for 1 second, I think that the dividends from that are huge. And to look at Jayden Daniels under center and not know if he's going to pass or run, where's Terry McLaurin, like who has who, how much of an open field does Jayden have? I mean, like all those things are to the benefit of Washington. And Tampa Bay is a good team, but I do think that Washington has the chance to really exploit something that makes them very difficult to deal with this year.
Jayden has shown when he sees a team a second time the way he can play against them. Do you think he has learned enough to where some of the things that Todd Bowles tried in the first game and was successful with, he'll be able to overcome that?
Yeah. I mean, that first game, that wouldn't even be on my radar in terms of like, how they played him and et cetera. I mean, that was the first game of the season with so many moving parts. I don't even think the offense played that poorly. I think the defense was really the story there. And I think the defense is way, way improved since that first game. So I don't necessarily worry. No coach has been able to really contain Jayden Daniels for the most part. He's just been an electrifying player this year. He's done everything that he's been asked to do. I just think that this is. I think people are maybe leaning on that first game too much, 37-20 loss. But again, that's a nothing burger for me. I wouldn't even look at the tape on that. I just think that this is a game that the team is just much different, and I think they beat Tampa Bay outright.
Do you think Week 18 against Dallas is also a dismissed game? Because depending how you watch or viewed that game, they look kind of bad. And Jayden didn't look great.
To me.
Yeah, like, are you willing to dismiss what we saw against Dallas? I am in full agreement that whatever happened Week 1 versus what is now Week 19 is different universe, right? What about what we saw last week?
No, I think that you have to take that seriously. Look, it's the NFL. You're going to have clunkers. Like, there's very few quarterbacks, teams, et cetera, that are at the top of their game every game, week in and week out, right? And we've even seen that with, like, the Chiefs, right? Like, every team has warts. Every team has some challenges during the year. I never put too much stock in one game. Like, I'm always just looking at, what are the range of outcomes for Jayden Daniels? And, that game against Dallas is more of an outlier than the games against, like, Tennessee, Philadelphia, Carolina, Arizona, like, though even Cincinnati, like those are the, being able to put up 30 plus points to me is more indicative of what this offense can do. And, like I said, there's always going to be games where things go a little bit against you or what have you. So I think Washington's the better team. I understand why they're 3-point underdogs. It's the playoffs. They're on the road. People still don't believe in rookie quarterbacks. I get all that stuff. But I do think that these teams are much closer. I don't think Tampa Bay is that good. I think that Tampa Bay, like Washington, had a relatively easy-ish path into the playoffs when you look at the opponents that they played. So I'm not, and Tampa Bay was not good before the bye week, right? It wasn't until they started playing Giants, Panthers, Raiders, Dallas, Carolina, Saints that they started to come alive here. And I even said on the show, I think that Tampa Bay was the team that I would probably keep my eye on more than anybody in terms of, strength of schedule and being able to make the playoffs. So I really do like Washington in this spot.
All right. I like to hear it. What do you say? This is something BMitch and I talked about. Washington has shown an ability. They call them winning time moments, where they just late in games are able to make plays.
Hell yeah.
Not a lot of teams do. And, it happens once. It was a one-off. The Hail Mary is a pretty low percentage play, right? But when you keep doing that week after week after week, it's really hard to account for it, but you kind of have to.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how I would account for it, right? And this is part of what I've talked about a bunch, is that when we analytics types are modeling games, there's a lot that we don't know how to model. Like, I do not know how to model what you're describing, like this clutch ability, right? Like, we know clutch play exists. We argue about how much is in the player's control. That's been changing as of late. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there is it factor, right? There are gamers. There are people that, can flip switches and become monsters on the gridiron when they need to the most. And we've certainly seen this team. I think the way that I look at it is, the coaching staff has this team believing they can win any game at any time, and they're always in it. And I think I think we talked about this before the season too, like leadership and, believing in the people and being stewards of career and et cetera. Like, if you have a coaching staff that believes in you, you then believe in yourself, and then you believe no matter what happens in the game, you're always in it. And I think that's what we're seeing here. And whether that's worth 1 point, 5 points in the spread, like, I couldn't tell you that. But I can tell you this team is playing very well. They appear to be coached very well, and they never seem to be out of it. They certainly don't give up. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here, is that as long as the game is close, and as long as you have it, as long as Washington has a chance to put the ball in Jayden Daniels' hands and make something happen, you probably should believe that a positive outcome is going to be a result.
They may not be as
and that's
good
just
as
not something you can quantify.
They may not be as good as what the Kansas City Chiefs have shown, but I think at this point they're that type of team. They've had 5 or 6 games where they've scored in the last 30 seconds, and
the last 4 in a row.
I think only Kansas City is that type. When Pat Mahomes get the ball, I think everybody in the country, even the people they're playing against, feel they about to score. Lately,
right.
when
before,
Washington gets the ball last, they think the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know how too much time is on the clock for Patrick Mahomes, but it's usually seconds, not like minutes, right? Like, I've always said that. But like you said, I mean, if you tell somebody there's a quarterback that is able to will their team to victory in the final, minutes of the game or whatever, and you tell them, oh, it's Patrick Mahomes, and they'll say, oh, well, yeah, because he's done it a lot. But if you tell them it's Jayden Daniels, people are still skeptical because we don't have the track record there. But the ability may very well be the same, right? And that's only something that we know when we know it, right? Like, it has to happen, et cetera. So Washington has a chance to show it, and like I said, I do think they're going to come out on the right side of it.
It's going to be, I don't know, man. It's just fun to have this week.
It's
right?
fun to have confidence. Right?
It's amazing we're even talking about it, right? Like, I thought they'd be good. I didn't think they would. I didn't think we'd be talking about them like in the playoffs, and I do think that they're going to win a playoff game. I do think that they're dangerous. I think what makes them the most dangerous is the ceiling on the offense is very high. Like, they can pop off for 50, and I don't think anyone would be like, oh, well, yeah, that everyone would be like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like, they got an electric offense. Now, the defense could give up 30, 35 or whatever, but I think the ceiling on the offense is what's really scary to most opposing teams. For
sure. I've been saying it all week. This feels like a race to 40 for me between these two teams, especially the way Tampa will give up big plays. I think, frankly, I don't think Washington's really going to be able to run it. I think the way to run it for them is going to be Jayden. What, if any, pause do you have from the mild leg soreness? Dan, that totals up to 50.5 now.
Yeah, I actually have the under.
I get
game.
that when it goes that high and everybody's going to bank on it, Vegas is going to need it to go the other way. I totally
I have the under. I think we see tighter games in the playoffs.
Yeah,
slower starts, etc.
But you
so I
could
think
still
it's going
be
to be
talking
a
about
lower.
28, 27 or something. I'm not a math guy, but something like that.
I'm looking at like 45, 48 points.
Total. I got you.
That's what
28,
I'm
20 Washington. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But what do you think the way Washington has to score here? Like, what do you make of Jayden coming out in the second half last week? What that was or wasn't, and does that give you? Is there any concern about that this week?
No, there's no concern because each week is different. It's in the playoffs. There's probably going to be more conservative plays, and there'll be more explosive plays where they pick their spots. I think the Terry McLaurin experience is in full effect. I mean, just a sensational season by him, the chemistry that he's shown. Having Zach Ertz as a viable part of the offense, like as an addition, scoring 7 touchdowns is also something that I think has been great. Is the running game healthy, like you said? But, we've talked about this before. I think if Jayden Daniels is the running game for Washington, I think that that's probably okay because it means that he is breaking down the defense, right? Like he is seeing the spots that he can take advantage of, running and that sort of thing. I think he's earned that right to make those decisions. So I think that it'll be fine. I don't have many concerns aside from there just being like some fluky stuff that just goes against Washington.
What's funny is B and I were joking about this. Do you remember after the week 1 game in Tampa, there was so much concern that Jayden ran too much and that he couldn't keep his eyes downfield and all of these things.
And there was also concern about McLaurin playing on just one side of the field, not really moving too much.
He scored 13 touchdowns doing that.
Well,
I mean, because there was a lot of newness, right? Like no one knew what to expect. And I think people by nature, especially with this organization, just err on the side of it all falling apart.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be growing pains, but again, I think we've seen what everyone's capable of doing, and that game seems so long ago, right? Like I know it was months ago, but like just from the maturation of this team, from the quarterback, on out, like. That Tampa Bay game is light years away from what I think this team is capable of doing on Sunday.
Well, dude, real quick, what was the what side was it where they were like, oh my God, Terry's only on this side all the time?
Side.
Well,
left side, yeah.
Left side. Where did he score that touchdown? The game winner from Dallas. I was just thinking about that.
Right. Well, there was definitely like there was. Has anyone gotten like more gruff than Kingsbury this year in terms of like
all he did was
how he was using
offense.
Terry McLaurin, the Cliff, and now we're talking about how he's in demand for a coaching job. Like the NFL is so fickle, right? Like the fans, like everybody, like it's so fickle from week to week. That's why I try not to let any one game, any one situation like sway me that much.
Each week
but it's been a heck of a ride this year for him.
Each week is
like
its
JP
own
says, its
entity,
own organism.
Dude, I mean, seasons of all. You know who deserves a lot of credit is Bobby Wagner, man. After they lost 3 in a row to the Cowboys, he was very clear. He's like, listen, this is a football season. There's ebbs and flows. Just stay confident. Work
he did
confident
everything but
here.
stay relaxed.
He basically did. He basically hit him everything but relax, and he was proven very correct. Greenberg, we're going to let you go, buddy. We always appreciate your time, and CK's got you on the list for 131 in Leesburg.
That's awesome. I can't wait to be there. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great weekend.
Drinks.
Yeah, we're on the Mitchell tab, I think. MITCH.
Yeah, Mitchell Tischer.
There you go. Yo, Greenberg.
It doesn't matter which Mitchell picks it up as long as it's not Greenberg.
Real quick, we got a lot of betting opportunities. We got 5 days of incredible football starting tomorrow. Notre Dame, Penn State. You got any winners floating around?
I do. Like I said, I already said I like the under. I like the Chargers -3 as well against Houston.
What about the college games?
I've had a hard time getting a read on college. I've liked Notre Dame this whole time. I was asked a couple weeks ago, like who I think has the value. I think it's Notre Dame. So I do like Notre Dame here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, bro. Take care, man.
It's our guy, Neil Greenberg from the Washington Post, sports writer, data analyst. You can follow him at ngreenberg. Check out all his work at washingtonpost.com.